Hello, I'm James McKinney, the creator and host of the Startup Story podcast and founder of the hottest new entrepreneurial coffee subscription, Grindology. If you desire to launch a new business or brand, but can't quite figure out how and which category or industry to focus on, then my recent interview with Gabi Lewis, co-founder of Magic Spoon, is exactly what you need to hear. Every week, I sit with a successful founder to unpack their entrepreneurial journey that led them to build the incredible businesses and brands that they have. With over 100 episodes and almost 100,000 listeners across the UK, Australia, and the United States, we have been fortunate to have some of the most amazing founders join the show. Founders such as Ben Chestnut, co-founder of MailChimp, or Randy Zuckerberg, the founder of Zuckerberg Media and creator of Facebook Live, as well as Christina Stembel of Farm Grow Flowers and Steve Jurvetson of SpaceX and Tesla, and of course Anusha Ansari of XPRIZE. But just recently, I had the chance to speak with Gabi Lewis, the co-founder of Magic Spoon. And if you're unfamiliar with Magic Spoon, they might just be the hottest cereal on Instagram, if not the internet. Magic Spoon has taken all the things that we love about the sugary cereals of our childhood and created a high-protein, low-carb, and zero-sugar cereal. They launched in April of 2019 and have absolutely disrupted the cereal category while still only selling direct to consumers online at magicspoon.com. And if you don't believe me that their cereal truly tastes like the sugary goodness of our childhood, then just visit magicspoon.com and use the code StartupStory to get $5 off your order. Then, once you've tried it, hit me up on Instagram at @thestartupstory and tell me just how right I was. The segment I want to bring to you today from my interview with Gabi has to do with the concept of just getting started. Oftentimes when it comes to entrepreneurship, we get hung up on this simple question of where do I get started or what should I create? Many thought leaders out there will have lots of courses and have you pay hundreds if not thousands of dollars to help you flesh this idea out. But after sitting with Gabi and hearing how he launched an insect food protein company while he was still in college, as well as now disrupting the cereal category, I knew I wanted you to hear from a real founder on how he got started in what might be one of the most challenging sectors to move in: food. But before we jump into this segment from my time with Gabi Lewis, I highly suggest that you watch the video till the very end because I have a special offer to have your business highlighted in an upcoming episode of The Startup Story. Now let's hear direct from Gabi Lewis, co-founder of Magic Spoon, on how we can determine what we should pursue and how we should move forward. With the success that you've had with Magic Spoon and XO before, you've been in this space for 18 months with Magic Spoon. You had XO for 5-6 years roughly for that. So you've been in the food space for some time. One of the things that I love about the Startup Story is giving people access to founders like yourself that to get that guidance and mentorship that really a lot of times they wouldn't have access to, right? So if you were having a coffee with one of my listeners that had an idea for a food product, and all they had was a napkin with some thought, or I guess a napkin would be weird for a food product, but they had a notepad with some ideas on what they wanted to do. What guidance would you give them on how to go from that notepad to concept to product launch?
The first thing is to make sure it's the right idea. And I think the key there is pick an idea that's not too sexy. It's very easy to want to make the next kombucha or cannabis-infused beverage or non-alcoholic seltzer. But those ideas that seem so of the moment and seems like there's a massive opportunity for, there's probably 10 other founders with the same idea working on their brand, getting ready to launch right now. And it's going to be really hard to break through. And so I think at the idea stage, you want to try and find something that's ideally a huge market that others have overlooked. So cereal worked for us a couple of years ago. Nobody was really thinking the cereal market needed to be disrupted or innovated. People had sort of written the cereal market off as this big sluggish category that had year-over-year decline. And so finding big markets like that others are overlooking, I think is one of the keys to sourcing the idea in the first place.
Love it. Absolutely love it. Now, once you have that idea and that framework, how does someone start moving into some type of productions for a real concept? How does one start then testing? Like, how can this person you're mentoring get to a point where they are actually selling their product online? What is that next step? Is it to actually get a product? Is there testing to be done without a product? In food, as an outsider, I think you've got to have a product. People have got to be eating it in order to test it.
Yeah, and it depends on the product. Some products you can make yourself in your kitchen, and so that's relatively easy to make a prototype and just give people to try. And it doesn't need to be a formal focus group of 20 strangers who fill out forms. For both of our businesses, it was making a small batch and giving it to friends. Our first batch of Exo protein bars, we gave it out to people at our house on campus at a party one night, and people I think didn't realize they were eating crickets, but they gave us feedback on the taste of the protein bar. And so taste is obviously paramount when it comes to food, and all these other sort of benefits, whether it's price point, health attributes. For food, that's secondary, and if people don't think it tastes delicious, then none of that other stuff matters. That doesn't need to mean it tastes the best product in its category, right? Every food product has trade-offs, and so you need to figure out where on the taste, nutrition, price point spectrum you want to be. And every product you could pick up in the grocery store has made trade-offs, right? You cannot be the most delicious, the cheapest, and the healthiest. You're going to be like two of the three, and you're going to be somewhere in the middle there. And so for Magic Spoon, we decided to make it really, really healthy and like 90% as tasty as the unhealthy cereals. You can't be 100% and 100%. So there's like a little bit of sacrifice in taste. It tastes almost as good as the junk cereals, but it's 100 times healthier.
I hope you found this content helpful. And if you did, then please make sure to subscribe to the Startup Story podcast on your podcast platform of choice so you can hear Gabby's episode in its entirety. With over 100 founder interviews to choose from, I am confident you will find many that will be helpful to your entrepreneurial journey. You know, I mentioned earlier that I have a special offer for you to promote your business or brand within the Startup Story podcast. And this offer requires nothing from you except your time. See, in every episode of the Startup Story, I read a listener review from Apple Podcasts. If you visit the Startup Story show page within Apple Podcasts and leave a written review, I will read it in an upcoming episode. And here's the best part. If you insert your URL, social media accounts, or company name within that review, then when I read your review in an episode of the Startup Story, your brand or URL will be inserted into the Startup Story and live on for years to come. It's basically a free advertisement for your business or brand within the Startup Story. I hope you will subscribe to this show as well as follow us on all the many social media platforms. I say it in every episode because I believe it. Entrepreneurs support other entrepreneurs, and we are here to support you.